Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of truth, explorers of depth, I speak to you now not as a flawless figure, not as a dreamer untouched by reality, but as someone forged in silence, shaped by storms, and strengthened by survival. I am not the exception, I am the example. And my story, though personal, is not mine alone. It pulses beneath the skin of every soul who's ever felt invisible, misunderstood, or quietly drowning in a world too loud to notice. I was raised in shadows, in a home where love was conditional and rage had no season. The walls were yellowed with regret, the ceiling cracked under the weight of screams. And in that chaos, I learned my first lesson as a Sigma, how to listen without sound, how to see without being seen. Each argument was a storm. My father's fury, a hurricane. I learned to shrink, to fold myself into corners so tight that maybe the pain would miss me. Some called it hiding. I called it survival. An early mastery of the art of disappearing. Outside, the city pulsed with promise. But it was a promise wrapped in noise. Teachers spoke with distracted eyes. Classmates laughed over wounds I carried like invisible ink. I was sharp. Sharper than was healthy for a boy desperate to believe in goodness. But intelligence, unrecognized, is like light trapped in a locked room. It doesn't heal, it festers. So I paid attention to everything, to the tremble in a hand before the outburst, to the crack in my mother's voice before the dam broke, to the silence that warned louder than any shout. I became a ghost, but with the senses of a wolf. I knew how to vanish in hallways, how to melt out of a bully's line of sight, how to read the pulse of danger in a crowded room. My childhood was a masterclass in awareness. They called me too quiet, but I heard everything, every hurt, every hope, every lie. When you grow up in chaos, routine becomes treasure. Trust becomes luxury. So I built fortresses in my mind, became a scholar of books and daydreams, imagined futures so vivid they felt more real than the present. But reality has a way of calling you back. It doesn't care for your solitude. It tests you. It tempts you. It offers forgetfulness dressed as salvation. Drugs, violence, power without purpose. I watched friends disappear into those traps. But I didn't follow. I was Sigma before I knew the word. An observer in a world that demanded noise. While others shouted to be heard, I coaxed meaning from quiet. I learned to vanish. Not to escape, but to sharpen my vision. Disappearing was never weakness. It was rebellion, a refusal to play by rules that never protected boys like me. In those early years, I discovered something most never do. Strength isn't always a raised fist. Sometimes it's the ability to let the storm pass over you, to breathe through panic, to hear a lie in a loving voice and know deep down that survival sometimes means walking away. This is what I want you to understand. If you feel small, ignored, trapped in the friend zone of life itself, you are not less. You are not broken. You are not alone. The world mourns loudly for kings and extroverts, but it was built by those who listen first. Some of us are forged in fire. Others are shaped by shadow. The Sigma path is not arrogance. It is conviction. It is wisdom gathered in silence, power cultivated where no spotlight ever shone. In my bleakest hours, I found a gift. Silence is not emptiness, it is potential. In the void left by broken trust, I heard a voice, my own. Timid at first, then steady, then undeniable. Listening is the first radical act. If you can interpret the static of the world and discern the truth beneath its noise, you possess a superpower. Empathy fused with insight. You notice what others miss. I watched anger cycle through generations, saw fear passed down like an heirloom. But I also saw the possibility of change. Every time I didn't lash out, every time I turned pain into understanding, I rewrote a piece of destiny. Sometimes choosing not to become what hurt you is the loudest act of defiance there is. And in that act, you become more than your past. You become a beacon. That child behind the locked door, knees clutched, glass shattering in the next room, he was already learning to lead, not with commands, but with quiet example. A Sigma does not ask the world for permission. He carves out space, shapes his mind until it's unbreakable, gathers lessons in silence until his truth becomes undeniable. If you've ever felt invisible, consider this. You are gathering strength. The seed is buried in darkness before it bursts into bloom. The awareness that kept you safe can one day set you free. The world needs more listeners, more readers of moods, more interpreters of the human heart. You cannot heal if you cannot first sense where the pain lies. You cannot lead if you cannot first follow the current of the unspoken. And here's the truth that will shock you. The very skills you develop to survive invisibility can make you unforgettable. The people who hurt me most never saw me coming. They never imagined that the quiet one, the watcher, the outlier could become anything at all. Yet here I am, and here you are listening. That power to observe and endure, to turn pain into fuel, to spot cracks in the surface, these are the makings of legends. So if you're still hiding, still haunted by the storms of childhood, know this, you are not condemned to repeat old scripts. I walked away from the mirror, and I did not lose myself. I found the version of me no trauma could destroy. The witness, the thinker, the one who gets back up. That's the Sigma, not a ghost, but a force so subtle, so sustained, it turns shadow into light. So what do I ask of you? Keep noticing, keep feeling. Do not run from awareness, even when it aches. Become an expert in the weather patterns of your heart. Take the lessons you learned in childhood, how to sense danger, how to spot hope, how to disappear, and wield them now as gifts. Use them to protect, to create, to mentor, to rise above the noise. Take pride in all you survived. Let your sensitivity be your sword. Let your pain shape a deeper compassion. When others rush to fill the silence, listen harder. Hear the melody in the quiet. Your empathy is not weakness, it is the blueprint for courage. Your scars are proof you were built to withstand what others couldn't even see. If you feel alone, let this moment connect us. Your isolation has not been in vain. You are part of a hidden lineage. Survivors, watchers, sensitive souls who have the power to remake the world one act of attention at a time. You are not alone in the shadows, and you never were. Change doesn't begin with grand declarations. It begins with quiet revolutions. When you choose to act instead of react, to step into the unknown instead of playing the role you were given. These rebellions, each one a brick in the foundation of the life you deserve. So tonight, do not hide from what made you. Stand in the alley. Remember the shards, the silence, the weight of your first heartbreak. Remember the child who refused to be destroyed, who wrung meaning from misery. Let this be the moment you step out of the shadows, not with bitterness, but with fire only the lonely can ignite. Choose yourself, rewrite the ending, become the leader you needed, first for yourself, then for the world. We are not the sum of our wounds. We are the sum of the lessons we were brave enough to learn. And when they look for you, when they wonder how you did it, let them find not a ghost but a legend, burn brighter than the neon. If this spoke to you, share it with someone still hiding in the shadows, not for likes, not for clout, but because silence deserves witnesses. And if you felt seen, good. That means you're not invisible anymore. Drop a comment if you've walked through fire and came out quieter, not weaker. Like this video if you know that strength doesn't always shout. Now go, not to be understood, but to be undeniable.